Welcome to another edition of the Hot Air Sports Podcast with me, white-bearded Macca, and my good mate Mahona, and a very special guest, New Zealand's foremost football broadcaster, Mr. Jason Pine. Welcome along, Piney.
Great to be here, guys. Always enjoy catching up with you both to talk some sports, specifically football. So thanks for inviting me along.
Mahona, you've had a good week?
I have had a good week, mate. I have had a good week, but not as good as the Phoenix, eh?
Yeah,
the mighty Phoenix, mate. They're going towards their first grand final, aren't they?
Well, I mean, all the pieces seem to be in the right place, Mahona. If we take this back a step, though, and I'm sure you guys were in exactly this boat. Yep. If we go back to the start of the season, did anyone really predict this? And there's mass shaking. It's almost like we're a boy band, all shaking our heads at the same time. No one in the Phoenix, I don't think even the most optimistic of Phoenix fans could ever have predicted a top two finish for this team that really signed nobody in the off-season, lost a bunch of pretty key players, had a brand new coach who had never been a head coach in the A-League before in Giancarlo Italiano. What they've done is just astonishing. So to even be talking about them heading to a grand final, if they can negotiate a semi-final, is beyond the realms of what anyone was expecting, really.
Yeah. And I think the credit has to go to the coach, doesn't it? I mean, like you said, we haven't heard of him. I mean, he's got a team of no names there, or basically the same as last year with a bunch of players out. And look what they've done. Look at the football they've played, mate. Look at the football they've played. He's huge. All credit to him.
Yeah, huge credit to Chiefy. He's got them all. He spent basically all of the off season heading into the new season just drilling his system into these players, and in particular a lot of the young players, the academy boys who have come into the side, and they just have all bought in. And really, you look at the team and you think, okay, who in that team makes an A-League All-Stars? Maybe Alex Paulson does. Maybe Costa Barbarouses does. Perhaps Ben Old. But not a foregone conclusion, really. It really is a team that is greater than the sum of its parts. That's what I've come to realise about this team, is they have punched well above their weight, but it's because they have completely bought in to what their coach has instilled into them. So it's been an equal parts heartwarming, surprising, and exciting.
I must admit, about midway through last year when Chiefy was the assistant coach, I looked like the TV camera panned onto the bench and I thought, who's that fat prick on the bench? I didn't even know who he was. But man, what a great job he's done, to just come from nowhere, really. Never been in charge of a top football team before in his life. And another thing, not wanting to take anything away from what the Phoenix have achieved, but you've probably seen a lot more A-League games than I have. I've pretty much just watched the Phoenix. What's the standards like of the A-League this year?
I think it's probably goes similar to most years in that there are some very, very good games. There are some absolutely dire games, and there's quite a bit of stuff in between those two things. I think at its best, the A-League, the A-League shouldn't pretend to be anything that it's not. It shouldn't pretend to be the Premier League. It shouldn't pretend to be La Liga or Serie A or anything like that. It is what it is. It is a professional football competition based in Australasia for the best players from this region who haven't yet sought their fortune and fame overseas, plus imports who, vary from
time.
Yeah. Some of them are looking for a final payday. Less now, though. More are guys who haven't really been able to pick up a contract in their home country or in one of the other, so-called bigger leagues, and have thought, okay, well, there's a decent league that's on television in good weather. I'll give that a crack. So look, to answer your question, because I think the standard has been good. It's probably not the best A-League season ever in terms of standard. And you look around at some of the teams and you think, well, that roster should be doing a heck of a lot better than it is. But I think that's the beauty of a salary capped league, is that you do get an equalisation of resource, and it leads to a situation where, from week to week, you really don't know who is going to beat who. And I think, in many ways, that's probably the secret of a pretty good competition.
And what we've seen over the league in the past probably 2 or 3 years, I've really noticed it, is teams have gone away from getting the Alessandro Del Piero, from the Carlos Hernandez, those big name marquee players. You don't see them much now, do you?
Now, few and far between. And I mean, the Phoenix have always had a strategy of not having marquee players. I mean, you pay your highest paid player sits outside your salary cap. I mean, you call them a marquee if you want to, but whoever gets paid the most sits outside the salary cap. So, I imagine that has cost Barbarouses at Wellington this season. But they haven't gone out. Wellington never have gone after the Alessandro Del Pieros and Shinji Onos of this world, whereas other clubs have done that. And look, there are decent players in a lot of these A-League squads who have had good careers overseas. Often they're sort of into their 30s now, and maybe their best days are behind them. But I think what we're seeing more and more of, and it's quite exciting, is young Kiwi and Australian players being entrusted with a lot of A-League minutes. I think I saw a stat the other day. This is the season where more under 23 players have, or the most minutes by under 23 players rather than any other season. And part of that's a cost restriction, guys. It's tough being a professional, sports team. You haven't got bottomless pits of money most of the time. So you do have to focus on youth. And look, to take it back to Wellington, guys like Finn Sermon and Ben Old and Oscar Van Haddam and Isaac Hughes, Alex Paulson, Matt Sheridan have all come through the academy. And they're all decent A-League players now. So, something's working.
It's going to be
looking forward. Sorry.
I was just going to say it's going to be interesting next year when New Zealand has another team in the A-League.
That's exactly what I was going to say, mate. Are you looking forward to the derby?
What do you think the Auckland team's going to look like on the field? We know what it looks like off the field, and it's very well resourced, very well organised. They've got their marketing machine working already with field invaders wearing an Auckland FC shirt at a Phoenix game. So, they've got that part well organised. How are they going to go on the field?
Such an interesting question. I can't wait to find out. On the derbies, I can't wait for the derbies. I think they'll be absolutely terrific. Can't wait for the first time Auckland FC come to Wellington or Wellington Phoenix go to Auckland. I think it'll be terrific. As we know, the restrictions exist so that you can only have 5 imports. And I know that Auckland FC will use all 5, and they've got, as you both know, Bill Foley's got a lot of money, so I don't think cost will be an issue. So they may well go down the marquee route, to make a splash as well as trying to get results on the field. But they are going to have the majority of their squad. You can have 23. So 8 up to 18 are going to be Kiwis and Australians. And you look around at the moment and you say, well, a lot of the best Kiwi players are at Wellington Phoenix, especially the best young players, and they've been tied up to long-term deals. I think the Phoenix have read the writing on the wall and thought, right, we better tie up the likes of Alex Paulson, Ben Old, and others for 2 reasons: so that they don't go to Auckland, or if they do, or overseas, we get a transfer fee. So I know if I'm in charge of recruitment at Auckland FC, I'm contacting every single New Zealand player playing around the world who's not really getting the minutes that they probably would have hoped for at their club. And you land on a guy like Sarpreet Singh, and you think he's in Germany, 2nd tier, Hansa Rostock, hardly playing. And maybe Sarpreet Singh looks at it as a bit of a step back to come back to the A-League, but maybe they say, look, come back for a couple of years, come back home, familiar surroundings, get yourself on TV in a good league, build that CV up again, and then go again. So that's the kind of player I'd be looking for. As far as the imports are concerned, guys, look, they can spread their net as far and wide as they like. There'll be guys we've never heard of. They may well, shoulder tap some high profile marquees. So I think at the end of the day, it's a great thing that there is another pathway for young Kiwi footballers, both men and women, because the women's team will follow the men's, in this country. And I think it'll also help. Help the Phoenix will have to sharpen their game as well, because if there's a New Zealand player, but previously they had one option in this country, because no Australian team was going to really take too many Kiwis because they count as imports in Australian sides. So a guy like, who do I think? Alex Rufer. An Australian team probably isn't going to pick up Alex Rufer. So in many ways, he had the Phoenix and that was it. Now a player coming through has 2 potential suitors.
Better
so
pathways.
each going to have to sharpen their pencils.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the bants that's already started between the fans as well online. It's getting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say nasty, but it sounds like that Auckland FC is living in the heads of the Phoenix fans. To be fair, I mean, we haven't even played on the field. They should just be concentrating on themselves. Really, you've made the playoffs. You could make your first grand final, and all they want to talk about is Auckland FC.
Yeah, I love the banter, and that's what
So do I.
that's what I mean. Derbies are as much about the fans as they are about the players. We all know that. In fact, as we all know, the only people who are really truly loyal to a sports club are its fans.
Yep.
Players come and go, administrators and coaches come and go. Fans, we tack our colours to the mast, and through thick and thin, through the roller coaster that is supporting sports teams, as you both know, there's a heck of a lot of thin. And sometimes not a lot of thick. And Phoenix fans know this all too well. So, I think the banter's great. And as I say, when the two teams have the opportunity to play against one another in the other's home city, I would imagine, what you hope is that, a really good contingent of away fans travels.
Yeah. Just to prove a point, Piney, and I'll use this as a segue to get onto the Premier League. In about 2 weeks' time, it'll be 50 years since I first started following Liverpool Football Club. And I've never moved to any other English club.
Proper fans are here till death, aren't we? Really?
Absolutely.
I mean, you're stuck with your team till you die. I mean, we're not millennials.
No.
And we had about 20 years of very, very not much success, didn't we, mate? Between 1990 and about 2005 wasn't too bad, was it? But I mean,
you're right though. I mean, and I feel like if we take just back to the Phoenix just quickly, those fans who have been there from the start have been there for 17 seasons now. Nothing to show for it. Yes, finals appearances, great moments, terrific goals, but nothing in the way of silverware. No. So I feel like now this is extra special for those fans who have been there since Ross Aloisi led them out against Melbourne Victory in August of 2007. For goodness sake, Facebook had only just started. That's what we're talking here. So fandom is, and you're right, Goose. I'm the same. I'm not quite as I'm not approaching 50, but I'm not far away. So
1974 Cup final.
I saw some fans on the Facebook today, some Phoenix fans saying buying their tickets to Sydney already, saying, "Okay, I'll get $100 back if we don't make it. I'll get a free ticket to the final anyway if it's not us." So they're already buying their tickets over there, mate. I just, much appreciation for the Phoenix fans. They're so great. I mean, I love the way they get their gear off, with 10 minutes to go as well. It's just, it's unique. They're a unique fan base, and more power to them. I just hope they make the grand final. That would just be great to just make that first grand final, and then whatever happens, right? You're in the big dance. Who knows?
Well, the other thing about if Melbourne City do happen to get through and we do beat Macarthur or Sydney in the playoffs, we've got a home final.
Yeah, we need someone to knock the Mariners out. We need whoever comes through the other semi to knock the Mariners out. That's really what we're after.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
And I was at the stadium on Saturday night for the Macarthur game, and I was there with a mate, and he said, "Well, what do you reckon the crowd is?" I said, "Wouldn't be far off 15,000." And he said, "Oh, really? Nah, it's only about 10." And when it flashed up, he was like, "Oh, yeah, we were up in the lounge, and we couldn't see on our side of the field." Yeah, I'm a fair weather supporter now. But if that's the atmosphere they can get with 15,000, if they can get 25, 30,000 there for that playoff game, that would just be magical.
Yeah,
it'd be amazing.
Anyway, on to the Premiership. We've seen a 3-team race. I think one of the teams, unfortunately, might have just dropped out of that race now.
It's been a tough watch, hasn't it, mate? It's been a tough watch the last few weeks since we spoke last. I mean, it looks like the team's as tired as a poor old Kloppo on the sideline, isn't it? And I mean, the big noise coming out after we dropped our bundle against West Ham is the Mo Salah, Jurgen Klopp thing on the sideline, isn't it? I mean, they did call it a bit of a storm in a teacup, but the way that Mo went through the mix zone afterwards and said, "There will be fire if I talk today." I mean, he never talks, and then he says that. I mean, he's just throwing gasoline on it, isn't he? I mean, either way, I thought it was kind of sad. Both those guys very iconic for our team, and And I don't know whether either of them will be there. There has been talk by Ornstein, etc. In the press. I don't believe that Mo Salah will be there next year. Let me just put my cards on the table. I think that's just all stuff for contract talks, all just stuff for Saudi. I think we have to make noises to say, no, we don't want to lose him, because if we say we're willing to sell him, they'll offer low money. So I honestly don't think either of them will be at the club next year. I just thought that was kind of a sad ending, really. What did you guys think of that?
I feel the same. I mean, it hasn't been the swan song that anyone hoped for Jurgen Klopp, has it? You know, they're stumbling towards the finish line now. Look, he'll still get a terrific send off, and what a boss he's been for us. But and I agree about Mo Salah too. You know, I think there'll be a major refresh. Of course there is, when a new boss comes in with fresh ideas and that sort of thing. And so what, Salah will go to Saudi, will he? Is that where he'll end up?
That's where we'll get the most money. Yeah. I mean, I doubt he'll play. He won't play for another British side. No. The only other side he'll go to is Real Madrid. They don't want him. I mean, they've got Vinicius and a bunch of other players for the wings. I mean, Rodrigo, and they've got everyone. So I think Saudi, I mean, if we get anything close to 100 million, I think you take it and you rebuild your side, don't you? I mean, that's
100%. Yeah.
And certainly with a new manager in, and I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of Arne Slot until he came into the news as being a possible Liverpool manager. It seems the way is clear now. We're just waiting for the confirmation from the club.
I hadn't heard of Jurgen Klopp either, though, to be fair, or not a lot about him. I think I recognised the name. But you're right. I didn't know who Arne Slot was. I had no clue who he was. But
this is perfect. This is perfect Michael Edwards stuff. This is Michael Edwards stuff, man. This is what he does. He plucks people from obscurity and makes them stars. He did the same thing with Klopp. He did the same thing with Salah. I just think we've got the right guys behind the scenes looking at these appointments. We've also made him, head coach, haven't we? Instead of manager, which is an interesting change. So obviously, the power behind the scenes to do the recruitment, etc., is going to be done by Michael Edwards and co. So I just think I trust them to make the right decisions. They brought in Klopp to start with. Then Klopp, for me, had too much power the last couple of seasons. He was bringing in players, trying to re-sign players that I didn't think deserved re-signing. So to put the power back in Edwards' hands, I'm quite happy. I'm quite optimistic. But moving from Klopp to Slot, I don't know what's going on. Is the next guy going to be Jot or something? I don't know. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, we only hire managers with one syllable surnames, clearly.
Exactly. Full stop. Yes. Anyway,
quite right. Looking at the rest of the teams that are left fighting it out now, it's Arsenal and City. I think City have got the slight edge, haven't they? On points, and
if they win out, they've won, haven't they?
If they win their last 3 games, I think they've got it. But Arsenal have really surprised me this year after they choked last year, and they're playing really good football.
They are.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard. I've got no skin in the game with Arsenal or Manchester City, and I often say, you worry about your own club, and then you throw grenades if you want to. But I think I'd probably, if I had to choose, I think we probably all would, that Arsenal won it, because it would be something different. But I mean, they've got a game in hand. They're only 1 point behind. It's your same, Mahona. If they win out, they win. Yep. And Manchester City are good at winning out. They did it last year. They hauled. What was Arsenal's lead last year? 10 points at one stage?
With 8 games to go, they were leading. It was ridiculous. I mean, they really dropped their bag last time, didn't they? They really did. And
I think they've done well to stay in the fight as long as they have. But I just think, that's not in their hands. All they can do is keep on trying. And look, they're playing terrific football. They're fun to watch. This isn't 1-0 to the Arsenal that we, from many years ago. Arms up for offside, with Tony
George
Adams
Graham.
and Steve Gold and the rest. They're playing well. But I think we all just know what City do, right? I just think City are they've got no Champions League to worry about anymore. No. They've got the FA Cup final, of course, but I just think they'll win their last 4 games to win the league again.
Yep, I was kind of hoping Spurs would do a job on all the top teams, but they've just dropped their bundle against Chelsea this morning. Yes. They're not doing anything. No. So
and then that result this morning confirms Liverpool's place in the Champions League.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so we finished 4th officially.
Yeah. Well,
Are
looking
you
at the
thinking
other
Villa
end
are
of
going to are you thinking Villa are going to storm past us as well?
Come on, we're on the big. Actually, maybe not Villa because they had a bit of a. They basically choked on their Savlaki this morning too, didn't they?
They did big time.
Olympiacos beating them 4-2 in the Europa Conference League. So, but Villa are playing some good football too. I just don't trust us to do anything at the moment. I've been watching the last month. It's just been.
Do you think we're just stranded on 75 points? That'll be it now. That's our final number.
What is the point? That passing around the back. We're 2 goals behind. Just pass it back, pass it forward. It's just God.
Anyway, moving right along before Aaron has a seizure. The bottom end of the table, we've been saying Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United were going down all season. They're still in the bottom 3 spots. Yep. The only team any of them can catch is Nottingham Forest.
And Forest play who on the last day? Do you think Luton
or Burnley can pull a rabbit out of a hat?
Burnley can. The way they're playing, they definitely can. Luton, I think, just the way they're playing, I just can't see it. But Burnley, they're playing okay. They're playing good football. I think they can. And I think they play. Is that the last game? Forest Burnley? Is that? I think that's the final game. Is it? I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. So that could be the big game, couldn't it? Especially if Forest lose their next couple and Burnley win a couple. I mean,
that's at Burnley.
I mean, the romantic in me would like to see Luton stay up, but I because I think Goose, you and I certainly, Mahona, you're probably a bit younger to remember this, but the Luton Town days of the plastic pitch and Mick Harford and Ricky Hill, these
the Steen brothers.
Terrible gang of lads. Terrible gang of lads they were.
Exactly. But in Luton, they were. I don't think they ever made it down to League Two. They were certainly League One, and they're back up again. And we've seen these wonderful shots of the entrance to the away end. It's like somebody's back garden, But but it's like, how could this be a Premier League team? But it is. I think the same as you, Mahona. I think it'll be Luton and Sheffield United are gone. I mean, they're
absolutely.
But I get the feeling it'll be Luton who go down and one of the other two, depending on that result on the last day.
Yeah.
And looking at the championship now, Leicester and Ipswich Leicester are up. Ipswich
are up.
Almost sure. They just need a point against Huddersfield on the weekend. It leaves Leeds, Southampton, Norwich, and West Brom in the playoffs. That's a hell of a playoff group, isn't it?
It's good, yeah. Like teams have kind of all they're very much yo-yo sides, aren't they? Sometimes you've got to check, are they in the Premier League or are they in the Championship? I can't remember, which they're in at the moment. You look at they're just up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
And you must crave some consistency. I'd quite like to see Ipswich back in there. Again, where you hark back to Paul Mariner and Eric Gates and Mick Mills, Franz Tyson, Arnold Murin, these names. Yeah. Roll off the tongue. Like I don't even know what day the bins go out, but I remember those guys. I'd quite like to see, obviously, and it looks like they will, but of the others, those playoffs are brutal, man, aren't they? They're so brutal. 4 teams all with real desire to get back up, even though it probably means they're only there for a season, but
and they play about 100 games to get in the playoffs.
Yes.
They must be all absolutely exhausted. They're playing 2 or 3 times a week,
absolutely.
And you get in the playoffs. And I think the Ipswich thing would be quite romantic to see Ipswich back in the Premier League. And I think their manager's done a fantastic job as well. Got them playing some really, really good football, not sort of Ipswich style football. So, I love the Championship. The Championship is a great league. It's probably the most competitive league in England. I mean, I just love it. Every year it just provides so much great football.
Yeah, part of me almost, I would never wish this upon them, but part of me almost wishes Liverpool will get relegated at some point so we could be in the Championship.
I was thinking Everton. Everton need to go down. Everton need to go down just so they can win a few games and their supporters can have a good time for a little while. They've just been having such a bad time for the last 10 years. Go down, win a few games. Have a party for a season.
Your confidence back, boys. Yeah, exactly.
That's what they need to do.
Now, we've got to rush through the next couple of items because Piney's got to depart on us.
Yeah, rush off.
We've had another indifferent season with the old VAR, haven't we? The Premiership just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. Yet around the world, other leagues, including the A-League, I think, have started to get this right.
Yeah, I mean, Look, technology in football. I love goal line technology. Perfect. Absolutely brilliant. Is the ball in or is the ball out?
Easy, eh?
Buzz on the referee's watch. It's like tennis. You
Yep.
know, it's the ball in or out. You see,
Yep.
you see the graphic. Even if it's just in or just out, it's black and white.
No argument.
Yep. And VAR was brought in, as we all know, to correct the howler, to correct the Thierry Henry handball that took France to the World Cup instead of Ireland, that sort of thing.
That's what we were promised.
Exactly. The brief's gone far too wide, and they're still getting stuff wrong. That is the biggest problem of all, is that even with technology and even with the millions and millions of dollars pumped into it, we're still not getting every single decision right. So, yeah, fans in the ground are left wondering what's going on. Fans at home are watching, lines being drawn on pitches. Goal celebrations are being, ever so slightly reduced because you just wonder in the back of your mind, shit, is it going to get ruled out?
I don't celebrate a goal now.
No.
Watching it on TV,
we haven't scored many. We haven't scored many for a while, Goose. So you're not.
True. Lines being drawn across toes.
Yes.
There was the Mike. Who was it? Who was our? Can't even remember who the referee was for the West Ham game. He was bald anyway. The tackle on McAllister. I mean, I'm sorry. He didn't even give it a card. He only just gave it a free kick. That was a red card. And because he didn't give it a card, because he doesn't give it a yellow card, you can't upgrade it to a red card.
To any card, yes.
I mean, that's just, look, you're putting the cart before the horse. What we need to do is I keep on thinking, just give the power to the referees, but then he's stuffed up with Areola, says, oh no, he's injured. Oh, he throws the ball out. Then he tells Gakpo, you can't kick it in the goal, blows the whistle, tells the first time I've ever seen a referee to tell a player, go down injured. Yes. He told him, get down, go down. We can bring it on the medical stuff. What the hell's going on there? So I was all in favor of giving the ref more power. Forget about the guy up in the box. Just tell the ref, if you're not sure, go over and have a look on the sideline and make your own decision. Give all the power back to the ref. That's what I think we need to do. Get rid of the VAR completely and give the technology to the ref. And if he's just not sure, just let him have a look and make a decision. And then at least we can blame it on the ref. We can just say, well, you looked at it, you weren't sure, that's what it is. I just think we've just got too many technicalities. And then the whole stupid way they talk to each other with the good process and the check, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you're not launching nuclear missiles,
How many complaints are we hearing in the English media? I know we all read the English media. How many complaints do we see in the papers about games in the Championship?
Yes. Yeah, where there's no VAR.
No.
Yeah.
There's no VAR.
Yep.
Much more enjoyable to watch.
Another reason to get relegated.
Yeah.
And like you say, Macca, we can all go back to celebrating goals. I mean, that has taken away one of the key things. Remember that bang in the goal? Oh, yes. Woo! It's just, hang on. Yep.
One more final thing before you have to depart, Piney. And it's been absolutely splendid to have you on board. Wrexham, they're up again.
Oh, unreal. Are Wrexham headed for the Premier League?
Yeah,
I mean,
and you know who, and I've got a sneaky idea for a signing. I reckon they're going to sign Jamie Vardy. Okay, he's out of contract. I mean, I don't know whether he'll play for Leicester next season, and I reckon he could be a very sneaky signing for Wrexham. He'd be the perfect sort of guy to sign, banging a few goals. He loves the spot. His wife would probably love it more.
Look, it's obviously, this isn't a little club that could. They've got they've got a few dollars behind them, haven't they, with some celebrity owners. But anything that breaks the norm, anything that's just a little bit different. I mean, you guys remember when Watford went up all the way up through the divisions and ended up in what was then the first division from the fourth division. Luther Blissett and John Barnes and those guys.
Barnes.
I think we love these stories.
Elton John. Don't think he ever made the field, mate.
No, he didn't play a lot, but he was there every day. So I like it. I just like when different teams are. And that's why you always like the Championship, because you look into the mid-table in the Championship and you see teams, you think, there's no way on earth that team could be in the Premier League. But then you think to yourself, shit, if they win 5 or 6 in a row, they could be in the Premier League. So
absolutely.
Yeah, maybe only for a season, but it's something different.
The first season of the Premier League, Oldham was in it, weren't they? Way back in the day. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
anyone can make the Premier League.
Right,
Quite
I've been given
Thanks,
I've
Piney.
been given my marching orders from my room,
Beautiful.
but great to
Thanks,
catch up,
Piney.
boys.
Beautiful,
Always good to
Piney.
see you both. Take
Thank you
care.
so much.
Take
Beautiful.
care.
Great
See
to
you
see you,
later.
buddy.
See ya.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. See you.
Okay, thanks, Piney. Once again, he's always a brilliant addition to the Hot Air Sports podcast. But let's carry on and go back to talking a wee bit more about Liverpool.
Okay.
5 weeks ago, we were still in, maybe 6 weeks ago, we were still in with a
Oh.
chance in the FA Cup. And
We
then
had our
the
hopeful
league
glasses
form
on.
deserted us. I don't know whether it's just tiredness or just over-invested with the fact that Klopp's leaving. I don't know I can't put my finger on it.
It's the hope that kills us, mate. That's what I think. Because at the beginning of the season, if you had told me that we were going to be in the running for a triple or a quadruple all the way through till, through the new year, we were going to be in the running to win the Premier League. We were going to have a trophy in the bank by then. We might be in the Europa League. I would have snapped your hand off for all that at the beginning of the
absolutely.
season. And then once we start competing and doing so well, we think, oh my God, we're going to win the Premier League. Oh my God, we're going to win the Europa League. Oh my God, this is going to be a great way. This is going to be the best thing ever. And what a great way for Klopp to go out. And they're going to be so motivated. I also think, so it's almost, the expectation that's killed us. But I also think that when we had so many players out and we brought all the young guys in, it gave us the team a bit of a freshen up, a bit of a kick up the ass with fresh new blood. And I think when those guys came back, because they weren't quite so fit, or because I don't know, for whatever reason, they weren't quite up to speed as quickly, I just think our team sort of fell away a little bit. People like Bradley and even the young guys in midfield, I just think they offered a little bit more. Jaden Dans hasn't been spotted since he's been on the bench a couple of times. I would have given him a few minutes when we needed a goal. I just think maybe those young guys could have been used better. But maybe the Kool-Aid that Klopp's been given out for 9 years just isn't being drunk with quite so much vigor as it used to be. The message maybe is just a little bit the same thing that they've always heard, something like that. But something was going wrong, and I think that all came out when the Salah bust up on the sideline. I just don't think that we play football as poorly as we have in the last few weeks, and then we see that and think that it's unrelated.
I think you can go right back to. Some people have said you can go back to the FA Cup game where we lost, obviously with the last kick of the game.
Yeah.
But after that, we actually had two good games. We beat Brighton and we beat Sheffield United.
Yep.
And went into that Europa League quarterfinal all cock-a-hoop. After drawing with United at Old Trafford, and got absolutely spanked.
Smashed. I know. I didn't see that
playing
coming.
well for the first 20 minutes in that game. And since then, I mean, you look at the results. We lost to Palace at home. We beat
that was
1-0 away with a penalty.
The Palace game, man. I mean, we were all over them and then just couldn't score. I mean, that's the thing. The finishing has just been terrible. I mean, some of the finishing. I mean, but look, we have to look at the season and just say we've done better than we thought we were at the beginning of the season. We're going to have a new manager in next season. That's a chance for a bit of a refresh, a bit of a... And you and I have been, like you said, mate, you've been there 50 years. What did you say? 74 cup final.
Yep, 74 cup final.
For me, it was the 77 cup final for me was the first one I remember, Yep. So you and I have seen this, we've seen it from success. We often, it's like this. It's just supporting a team, mate. You get ups and downs and the last 9 years, mate, what a journey we've been on. Remember, Klopp, when he came in, we were in a pretty shitty spot.
Oh, hell yeah.
As a team, and he's just revitalized it and rejuvenated us as a club. And this is something about the hope that Edwards gives me. I mean, they didn't just go out and appoint a manager. This guy, Arne Slot, he's a communicator too. He's not an Eric Ten Hag. He speaks pretty good English, and he's not going to say they're the most dynamic and entertaining team around until they actually are, So I don't think we've got any of the worry that Manchester United have got with Ten Hag. I just think because he's just from the same country, that's got nothing to do with it, know. And our guys are data driven, completely data driven, and looking at but they also know that they need someone more than just a manager. They need someone to connect with the fans, and I think that he seems like a guy that can do it. I mean, I'm willing to give him a chance, mate. And we got three Dutch guys in the side, so
right. Yes,
I
can tell you one thing that Michael Edwards and his team didn't choose, and that's next season's Liverpool shirt.
Oh my God, isn't it awful?
The collar looks 3 times too big, and they've got those lines going all over the shirt like a
maze.
Microsoft 95 screensaver.
I'll tell you what, it looks like it's been designed by AI from 95.
It does, doesn't
it? I understand the collar when they're sort of saying it's harking back to the previous, but it wasn't a half collar. The previous collar in the, what was it, 88 or 87, they had a big, thick V-neck, and it went around the back. I don't know what they're doing with the collar. Why do our players look so depressed wearing it too?
Yeah.
What? Some of the models, I mean, they've got Mo in dress pants. I'm like, what is going on? I mean,
anyway, on that bombshell, time to sign off and say we'll see you next time. And
we certainly will. Hey, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe, send us some comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Lovely.
It's good night from me.
And it's a goodbye from him.